Hey, I'm Nate. I'm a college student studying computer science, and I want to make video games. Now, I've been trying for the past few months to get into game development, but I always struggle with discipline when teaching myself something new. Whether it be drawing, 3D modeling, whatever, I just always seem to get burnt out. Especially when you add schoolwork into the mix, I can't ever seem to find enough focus or set myself concrete goals. So, when I came across this site called the 20 Games Challenge, I thought, hey, this is perfect, finally something with clear and defined goals that I can follow. Essentially, it's a series of increasingly complex games that add on to each other, getting harder the further in you get. The first level has two choices. I went with Pong, simply because it was easier and wouldn't take me that long. Also because it gave me the chance to write a basic AI script, which is something I'd never really done before, and I thought, hey, why not try something new? Now, starting out, I decided I would begin with something really simple: make the paddle move, which thankfully only took a handful of minutes. Here you can see I'm trying to figure out the boundaries of the paddle so that it wouldn't go flying off screen. Going into this, I planned pretty extensively. Here you can see my notes. Most of it was just figuring out how the ball should bounce off of stuff, which, as you'll see, took quite a bit of time to get right. When scripting the ball, I decided that I would use the random function, and here you'll see me use the Unity API a lot as I'm still learning the language, but I decided to use the random function to decide if it would start out going left or right. And then the way I went about making the ball move was not the best. Essentially what I was doing was every update frame I was manually changing the position of the ball, which is really dumb when you can just physically simulate the ball with a rigid body, which is what I should have done from the beginning, but I thought, hey, maybe I could do it myself. Spoiler, I couldn't, and I end up undoing all of this. The main reason I had decided to change over to using a rigid body really just came down to how I was simulating the collisions. I had decided that whenever the ball hit a paddle, its X direction of travel would be inverted, and the same would happen to the Y direction of travel when the ball hit one of the borders. Now, as you can see with this handy dandy graphic, essentially that created very box-like patterns of movement, which is way too predictable. I wanted this, a reflection vector, which is a handy dandy little bit of linear algebra, which is something I'm not too familiar with, but hey, I'm learning. What I understand, the second vector that you want, the outward vector, is just going to equal the initial vector minus 2 times the normalized dot product of the initial vector and the normalized vector. And the normalized vector is just the vector coming out of whatever surface you're hitting. From my understanding, this will give you the positioning or the direction of travel that you want, but not the magnitude. What you're going to want to do for that is multiply that new vector with the magnitude of the initial velocity coming into the collision, and what that should give you is the velocity coming out of the collision. It took me a bit of research to understand all of this, and thankfully I found this one forum post that was really useful. I'll link the video that I used down in the description, but that forum post was a godsend and saved me a lot of headache. Now, here I started to work on the UI of the game, which thankfully, because it's Pong, is super simple. It's just 2 numbers at the top of the screen. However, I did do a little bit of cheating. I ended up stealing a lot of the script for this, for updating those numbers, from another project that I did. I mean, hey, what's wrong with reusing a bit of code? Especially since a lot of this isn't muscle memory for me yet. I'm still learning, I'm still trying to build the fundamentals, trying to understand what it is that I'm really doing. And then here I'm doing a bit of bug fixing. I couldn't figure out why the score wasn't updating whenever it passed the triggers. I ended up figuring it out. It was just one line. apparently I was referencing the wrong part of the text object, which is, hey, oh well, I figured it out in the end. I've been making games for a few months now. The first major project that I made was based off of the Brackeys tutorial, which was essentially just the box sliding game. But I added this thing to it that I really liked was when you collided with the obstacles, they would shatter and time would slow down. And then I also decided to make it just obscenely hard. There's 5 levels in it. It starts out really easy, but it just gets stupid hard by the 5th level. If you want to give it a go, it's on my itch.io account, which I will link in the description. Good luck. Here I'm working on just a really straightforward and basic menu. It's just 2 buttons. They both lead to the 2 separate scenes. The game with the AI script in it or the game with the player script in it. Either way, really straightforward, but after this I start working on the script for the AI paddle, which is a lot of fun. So my initial thought with the AI paddle was to just have it match the Y positioning of the ball, which turns out was really simple to do and really easy, but it made it near impossible to beat. It was just too good. So the real problem with this was trying to figure out how to make the paddle less than perfect. So after a bit of research, I discovered vector3.lerp, which linearly interpolates between 2 positions, in this case the paddle and the ball. And so I would just create the new position of the paddle as the interpolated position between the 2 vector and ball. However, what would happen there was the paddle would come flying off the wall, so I had to create a separate variable called old x, which would just take the old x position, and then when creating the new vector, I would replace everything with the interpolated positioning except for the x. Right, so there you can clearly see a problem I was running into with the ball, which was that it was just like way too predictable. It wasn't making drastic enough angular changes, and this was a problem with the way I was doing those reflection vectors that I talked about earlier, which is they're nice and accurate, but they're very predictable. So I had to throw in a bit of spice, I ended up arriving at a solution which took me a bit. It took a lot of reworking and just retyping the same line of code and a lot of bug fixing, because I had a few problems where the ball would hit the paddle and then just stop and stay still. But essentially the solution that I really came down to was if the angle between the incoming vector and the normal vector was too shallow, then the new angle of the outgoing vector would just be random. It was just wherever, So I just thought that, throwing in that bit of spice would make it more fun. And you can see just how much more dynamic it makes the ball. It's a lot more fun to play with like this, which is, good. So here I'm just putting the finishing touches. I had to fix the UI a bit because I didn't have it scaled properly. My monitor is 1080p, but I wasn't working on that resolution. I don't know why, it was just kind of absent-minded of me, but here's the finished game. I made it so that the ball speeds up every time it hits anything by like 8% or whatever. But yeah, this was a really fun project, and I really hope that by the end of this, I'll be a lot better. There's a lot of stuff that I could work on, a lot of goofs and gaffes that I need to work on, but yeah, overall, this was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.